Hello crafting cuties. Today I'd like to show you something a little bit different. I'm using watercolor paper that I cut and put into this little pamphlet, and I made it to be 6 by 6. I'm doing this voiceover because I had a fan on and you literally could not hear what I was saying, so anyways, I'm using blue acrylic paint and then also white acrylic paint, and I'm going to be using this brush that's kind of just like a stencil brush, I guess, but it's really like it texturizes the paper basically. And I'm just putting this paint on in any direction. I kind of want like a texture for this page, and you'll see what I'm going to be doing here in just a moment, but I'm trying to like mix the colors literally on the page, and I want some light and some dark, and so I just keep working this paint until I just get satisfied with kind of like how it looks, kind of rough and rustic I guess. And you'll see like right there I put some dark, but then I blended it back and forth, so I'm painting up and down and back and forth. So now I took a stencil, which I realized I should have turned it the other way to make the beams of this to go down further on the page, but that's okay. I taped it down, and then I'm just using some gesso and I think people call these a spatula or something. I'm not exactly sure, but I put that on, and then I took my heat gun and I dried it before I did this part. So then I just took this ink pad that I have, and I decided, okay, I'm going to ink the sides of this and then kind of make it look a little bit darker even. And then you'll see that I basically even went over to where the page connects, because I wasn't sure how far over it would be in the booklet that I had created. So you'll see right there. Now I just took that paint and a fan brush, and I grabbed a little bit of the white and the blue, and I added it with water. And then you'll see I grabbed some more water and then some more blue, because I realized I want it to be a little bit darker than what I have on the page. So you'll see that I ended up using that entire little spot of blue. So now I just take the other brush and I just hit it so it has these larger drips, basically a splatter. And so I do that, and then after I do that I dry it. Then I take this stamp and I use the archival ink pad, because I found out that if I use the memento, it kind of like bleeds through on the gesso that I used. So here I'm just taking this script that you can't really read, and I just kind of like put it all over just to kind of give it more depth, more design basically. It's like that thing where you add and then you don't notice it, but it actually adds to it. So here I'm using Stamperia Junk Journal. It's called Secret Diary, and I chose out a couple things, and then here I'm looking through and I'm like, oh yeah, this is what I want. So I use this typewriter, and there's a couple flowers there. I also punched those out too, and I use those with this, if you see right up there at the top. Now I ink this again, and everything I'm putting on here I basically ink, and kind of give it like that shadow effect basically. And then I decided to like kind of rough up the pages of this. And then this thing that I'm using, I'm not sure what it's called, but it's for sewing. So I think people like put it on a necklace or something, and then so like when they're sewing, they just take that, and there's like a blade in it, and they can quickly cut the thread. So that's what that thing is. So here I'm just, like I said, I'm just kind of bending the corners and, making it a little bit rougher texture. And then I take this stamp, and it was from a Stamping Up stamp that had a typewriter in it. And I was like, ooh, I'm going to grab these keys, from the typewriter and stamp them down on this little Polaroid picture kind of thing. And here I'm like, wow, how can I put this? So I kind of decide on this kind of arrangement. I put the larger thing in the background at an angle, and then I take the picture frame and I add that kind of in the same kind of not the same angle, but rather the opposite angle, but at an angle, not straight. And here I put these foam squares on, and I'm putting them in the middle because at this point when I was doing this, I wasn't exactly sure if I wanted to add anything, like behind it. So that's why I put it in the middle. But eventually I realized I didn't need it in the middle. So there, I put that down, and you can see the rays of that stencil and also the splatter. And then of course I take the typewriter and put some ink on it. And in here I'm like, where can I put this? And then I found another piece of, it's like a die cut, or I don't know if you just punch them out of this journal thing. And there's also stickers in that too. So I take this stamp, it says tap, tap, tap. And I, once again, use that archival ink. And I don't really need to worry about the archival ink on that. But since it was out, I thought I'm just going to use it. So then I'm like looking at these flowers. I'm like, oh yeah, I got to ink these too. So that's what you see me doing. I pick them right up and I'm like, oh yeah, those need to be inked. And then I'm looking at this typewriter and I'm like, wait a minute. I use this gauze that I have and I cut it in two. And then I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, I think I want to put it behind the typewriter. So I use some Fabri-Tac glue and I make just like a stripe. Then I take that gauze and then I kind of like stretch it apart a little bit so it's not like in perfect lines. And so that's what I'm doing right here, is just kind of stretching it a little bit and, making it a little bit different. And then I just take it and I lay it right on top of that Fabri-Tac glue. And you'll see it just sticks right to that stuff. So whenever I have something with fabric, obviously, I use the Fabri-Tac glue. Now I take the typewriter and see how I have the foam squares in the middle again. I was thinking I was going to put something behind it, and I'm like, oh, I don't know. And then here I just kind of offset it. And then I found this stickers, these like leaves, and it's like a giant sticker of leaves. And I thought, oh wait, this is not really going to fit on here. So I kind of just cut off a section of the leaves and then of course ink it up. And then I place it down underneath in that white section of that Polaroid picture kind of thing. And then here I realized I wanted that orange looking flower up front. So that's why I picked up the blue and put it on first. And then I glued that orange looking flower. And then I add my tap, tap, tap little piece of paper there. And then I found this little saying, and I used that tool again. Honestly, I really don't know what that tool is called. So I'm just kind of like scraping the sides, and I'm like, you know what? I need to like kind of match it in with the rest. So I tore it a little bit, and then I curled the corners. And then here I'm like, you know what? I think that's too long, and I'll just tear it, curl the corners. And then, of course, I take my ink, and I ink all the sides. so that you can kind of see what I'm doing. And then there I was trying to decide, where do I want this? So then I added some smaller foam squares, and I realized I'm just going to put it right here at the corner because it was kind of empty. And so I put it there, and then stay tuned for the very last part because this is how it turned out. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.